Good afternoon and welcome to our fourth talk session in our New Energy Works series of conversations. I'm Drake Ambrosino. I'm a member of our sales team and we're glad you could join us this afternoon. All of these conversations, by the way, are recorded and they're available on our website. We've had 3 so far. This is number 4. So if you want to review these later at a future time, you're welcome to do so. We encourage that. Also, there's a question and answer portion of this. There's a tab at the bottom of your screen that you can click on. You can type in your questions and your comments, and we'll do our best to address all of them through the session. Our topic today is titled Company as Community. This conversation is about timber frame companies as a community, their ethos, and what might make a guide of a quality business beyond just the bottom line profit, mere profit. This conversation, this goes deeper than the design of your frame or the species of the wood. It's a conversation about business, the people who make up our company, and their role in shaping our worlds. Joining me today are 2 key members of our company. Megan Avila is our communications director, and she's pretty much responsible for bringing us this webinar today. And Jonathan Orpin, our founder and president of New Energy Works, he's the real reason we're here today, joins us from his home in Portland.
Drake, I think that actually our clients are the real reason why we're here today.
Well, you're right. They do help support what we do. In our previous sessions, we focused on the design of your home, the development of your timber frame structure. We talked about what we do in our shops in preparation for your raising. But today we're going to talk about how a company can be more than just the craft that they produce and the bottom line. Jonathan is an incredible entrepreneur, has been all his life. He's developed some strong views on this matter, and I'm going to ask him to take it from here to explain our community, our company, our community ethos, and why customers' view of who we are is so important. Jonathan?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Drake. I have to admit to being nervous. It's a big topic. You know, it's really crazy big, and for people who are more used to being talked to about, you know, how their kitchen is laid out or what kind of species they're going to use, this is kind of esoteric in a lot of ways. And so I'm pretty honored to have anybody show up to have this conversation. I think it's critically important, but it's not your normal timber frame webinar. I noticed, I took a quick glance at some of the people who had signed up, and I noticed like Julie is one of our clients, and we're about to raise one of the coolest ADU/wood shops for a woman, you know, by the way, that we've designed. And, you know, for you to be on here, Julie, is, wow, that's really quite an honor. Thanks. You're already a client. But I think for me, business is it's a craft, it's a calling, it's a statement, it's an opportunity to provide a living that for people, but it's also an opportunity to make a difference out there in the world. The way we build a home, you know, that might last longer, that might be of higher craft, or that obviously uses less, you know, operating costs like heating and cooling and all the good stuff that is the responsibility of a designer and a builder. But without a good company behind it, it just doesn't play. And so that's what my role is, you know, in the company, and frankly, in Megan's role as well. You know, people say, well, what do you do for a living? Well, I don't really cut joinery anymore. And while I'm involved in design, I don't really do much drafting anymore. I build community. And because of that building of community, I truly believe we are better at what we do as a company, as timber framers, as designers, because we give that base and that vision, you know, of what it takes to actually do the job that, you know, our clients want us to do. And so I think that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm kind of interested in this topic. And so thanks for asking me to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
to Jonathan's point, I think I just want to chip in here that all of us care really deeply. And while we may have various perspectives and personalities and experiences, we bring them all to each other and we learn from each other and just put the best forward all the time. And we're all going towards this goal that really centers around, you know, people and planet, which I know we'll talk more about as we go through this webinar. It's really, it's cool.
mhm.
You know, you say that about the people and planet. I think that's a really important comment, Megan. And maybe it, you know, I mean, how do I say this? Studies have shown, don't you love that phrase? Studies have shown that people want to work for somewhere that they believe in, and it's actually more important than their compensation. You know,
Mhm.
study after study has shown that. And so in our case, you know, the people who are working here, yes, we need them to be able to make a living, no question about it. But we also want to create a framework of why we're in business. And so that's what we call the triple bottom line. And you were starting to talk about that. The triple bottom line is people, planet, no surprise there, anybody who knows us, and profit or prosperity, either one you want to call it. All three of those legs of a stool are critical to how we think about the filters that we use when we make decisions, you know, everything about it that guides our company. People, we need to think about who we are as a community, who our coworkers are, but also who our clients are, and even beyond that, who our other communities are, like who our churches are, who our towns and cities are. And then that bleeds into who we are as a planetary population, as a species, which bleeds into the second P, which is planet. And wow, is there anybody who's not realizing that we need to pay attention to planet anymore? For years I've said, you know, with us, I know you came to us because of our craft or because you know, whatever reasons you came to us. But the reality is you get the greenest house, you know, to use that term green, you get the greenest house we can get you, kind of whether you want it or not. It just kind of comes as part of our package. Our belief in environmentalism and it kind of plays with good economics to that environmentalism. If you're using less heating or cooling, then you're saving more money. So, you know, there's a great opportunity to talk about environmentalism and economics together. And then the third P is profit. We do, you know, we are unashamed to say the company needs to make a profit so that we can be in business 20, in our case, 30 years later, feeling a little older here, but yeah, 30 years later. And so that we can make sure that we're doing the research, that we have the resources, that we can show up when we're supposed to show up, that if there's an issue, we can solve that issue, that we can do the best job we can for the dollars that you're willing to spend, that our clients are willing to spend. And so that whole triple bottom line approach to business, it's very different than your basic Wall Street approach, which is profit by the next quarter or the CEO loses his job or her job. That's crazy. Honestly, it's not necessarily a healthy way for a world to run its economy. A healthy way is small businesses like ours that think in terms of 10 years out. You know, if I don't get a profit, if we as a company don't supply a profit next quarter, you know, we're just going to keep looking forward. How do we carefully build for a healthier future? But nobody's going to fire us. In fact, most of the time, nobody will even blink. So, you know, that whole people, planet, and profit as equally strong legs of a stool is what's really guided us for so long. And, you know, is only going to get stronger right now.
One question that has just come up is about the cost of our products and whether a larger company that has multiple divisions and multiple people makes us more expensive. Jonathan, can you address that?
Well, I will, but then maybe ask Megan to, jump in here and also talk about who all these multiple people are you're talking about. The bottom line is the market will control whether or not we're more expensive or not.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about estimating, we talk about shining 3 spotlights onto the project. One is the sticks and stones that go into building the project, actually counting up the number of hours and the number of pieces of wood or whatever it is, and adding those together. Another spotlight we show is what does our history show us, or our formulas show us? How much does it take us to build this particular type of a project? And the third is, what will the market bear? I mean, if all 3 of those spotlights don't overlap and shine brightly on a similar spot, then we're out of business. And the truth is, the market tells us whether we're going to be in business, whether we're more expensive or not. And the frank truth is, we're blessed with an incredible amount of work. So I think the market is telling us that we're priced approximately correctly. In truth, I actually do think we are. We're probably at the 60 percentile of timber frames, maybe sometimes a little more than that, sometimes a little less than that. And part of that is just because we have a lot of buying power and we get into commerce here. And that's not really the point of this conversation, why we're pretty affordable. But the truth is, I think a good company that is well run, whoever you choose, whoever our clients choose, should be a well-run company that has efficient purchasing, that has quality people who can move efficiently and care enough to be efficient and organized and hardworking and safe and quality oriented and all of that stuff.
Well, it sounds like you're describing employee ownership, which is one of the features of New Energy Works. It's an ESOP, as the acronym goes. Megan, can you touch on that as an employee, what that means to you and what the benefits are?
Yeah, absolutely. ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan, and it's a way of transferring ownership to the employees of the company through an ESOP trust, and then shares are distributed as we pay into that trust as a company. In most basic terms, it's a form of retirement plan, which can be pretty exciting and substantial by itself. But the heart of it really is an employee ownership mentality that's the culture of the company. I've been here 12 years now, and that mentality has always existed and simply grown stronger over time. And it's been really fascinating, and it's so exciting and fun. And to Jonathan's point, people want to feel connected and feel like they're making a difference. And I think we do that every day. It's kind of interesting. I call on clients quite often after a project is finished. And usually I'm looking for photos or maybe to do a blog post and have a conversation with them. And inevitably across the board, they'll ask me about a coworker. Oh, hey, how's Brad doing? Because Brad was the key guy that was there all the time working the project. Or, man, that Mike Glacy guy, when he was putting the timber frame up, that was crazy. It was just the craftsmanship and, how they did things. And how's Diana, and it just floors me every time. And it's so exciting. And it's just proof to me that we all really have this mentality when we're working in whatever part of the company. We're bringing all of our passion and this literally like ownership way of thinking of things and how we work and how we communicate. So to me, the ESOP is really just making tangible perhaps what was a mental and cultural thing in the company for a long time.
Yeah, I love the word tangible, because in this case, the idea of transferring ownership, I mean, I'm getting older, people transition out. They're either going to carry me out in a box because I waited too long, or what is very common at some stage is it's passed on to a third party. For instance, a business is sold to a third party. And that's tricky, make no mistake about it, that's tricky, particularly in a quirky, craft-oriented, high-quality organization like ours. To sell to somebody who really isn't part of that community, but who needs to pay back the debt of the sale, and et cetera, that doesn't always work. In fact, it's more likely to fail. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? I'm getting older, and I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still love it, but I'm not going to do it forever. It seems so logical to figure out a way to acknowledge, make tangible the ownership mentality that we have had for so long by selling the company to the people who work there. And it's brilliant. It's, the ESOP, or employee ownership, is an underutilized tool that is appreciated and supported by the left and the right, by Democrats and Republicans. It's one of the few bipartisan supported groups, groups of laws that there is right now. And Lord knows there aren't enough of them, but this one is real. The sort of the progressive branch, the Democratic branch like it because employees get to share in the profits, in the rewards of ownership. The right, or the conservative, the economic conservative group, likes it because it's a fact that an employee-owned business is an economic powerhouse. And it doesn't matter who you are, it's good to have an economic powerhouse that is domestic, made in America, and that is offering reasonable health care and reasonable salaries and interesting work to its employees. So it becomes tangible. And Megan commented on the fact that we've kind of had this mentality for a while, and this ESOP is just something that's making it tangible. Well, if you think about it, I'm the founder. 10 years ago, I moved out to Portland, 2,700 miles from our base in New York. Started again out here for lots of crazy reasons. And could I have really done that if the people I was leaving behind in New York didn't already feel like they were owners? Because if anybody thinks you can micromanage from 3,000 miles away, try it. It just doesn't work. So, we had that. So again, going back to, is a company a good place? Are we a good company, or is a company that has chosen a good company? You really want to look at that. It doesn't mean that we don't have turnover, or that we don't struggle, or that we don't put our pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. It doesn't mean that, wouldn't it be nice to be at the beach more, or whatever your choice of recreation is more, but you got to work. And so how do we make that work more enjoyable, more rewarding, more empowered, I guess would be the word.
Oh, I like that you said that, Jonathan, because that makes me think of our day of business. And this is something that's been going on forever, I feel like. But we gather everybody in the whole, across the companies, and set an entire day aside and go over everything from finances to what the future looks like to past projects for the year. And on occasion it'll get pushed out a couple of months because who knows what's going on in the company. And our people ask about that, like, hey, we're excited about day of business, and this transparency of especially the finances isn't something that you find all that commonly, but it helps everybody be part of that community and really be involved and really understand. And I just think it's something that we do that's just, it's excellent.
Yeah, we've been doing the day of business, I think, for like 20 some years, and it's grown, and it's grown, and it's grown to the point where, right now the address to the company goes for 4 hours, and I couldn't listen to me for 4 hours, but people are so engaged, that they want to know what's going on in their company. And I'm amazed because I keep my eye open for everybody. I'm making sure that, my message is coming across well, or that people are intrigued. And there is not anybody who's not paying attention. And it just blows me away, whether you're a nail puller in the salvage business, or a engineer, with multiple degrees. There is that interest in what goes on in the company that you belong to.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, interesting. And so sorry about, I keep talking about us and us and us, and really what we're here to talk about is what makes a good company in general. And so maybe some of these are bigger conversations about, what makes a good conversation, a good company. Like, I did glance at some of the, as I said before, some of the people who had signed up, and I noticed even some of my quote unquote competitors are signed up. And I got to tell you, I'm so honored by that. One of my favorite toasts is "Here's to good people doing good work." I noticed Jack from Texas Timber Frames signed up and is listening. I'm a big fan of Texas Timber Frames, and Jack is younger than me, but he's really focused on doing a good job with his business. And, that sort of camaraderie and learning from each other has been a big part of my life. And I think a big part of lives in general of good companies, that sharing, that networking. Lord knows, I didn't invent this stuff. We have evolved it, and I'm pleased that so many companies now are mimicking the day of business, around our various spheres. But we've learned a lot from each other through, for instance, the Timber Framers Guild and Timber Framers Guild Companies Committee, and which Jack and I know each other from. And I don't know, there's probably maybe somebody else on here who is from there, but.
Yeah, the amount of collaboration has been impressive to me since coming into this industry, and the TFG is a great example, in my opinion, of that. I'm on the communications committee there. There's competitors call us that we get together, but it's not like that. It's more information sharing. It's more supportive. It's more a passion for this craft, and we help all of us to do better, project by project, by our clients, and by business, all of it. It's just. It's to me, it sort of all ties into our attitude to working with outside architects or builders, for example. It's collaborative. Yes, we have our own architectural department, but that simply helps us, I think, learn how to ask the right questions when we do get an outside architect's project in the engineering department or something like that, or to ask the builder the right questions, or to just be more of a partner, more collaborative on those projects. It's just sort of part of the timber framing mentality in general.
Jonathan,
I love that collaborative mentality that you're describing. I think a good company, whoever that good company is, should always think about collaboration with other good companies, and that sense of how can I be better by reaching beyond my own closed-in sphere. And we've become involved. I know Megan and I, for instance, are very involved in the New England Sustainable Energy Association, Northeast Sustainable Energy Association, and their group, Building Energy Bottom Lines, which is this group of like-minded, triple bottom line oriented, environmentally oriented companies who want to help each other be strong. Because, I often say our competition is not necessarily other companies like us, but it might, for instance, be poor quality construction is our competition. Or our competition is a budget, where our job and we have to figure out how to make a person's dream come true in a tighter budget than maybe, theoretically, those three spotlights I mentioned imply that it can't happen. And it's not always easy, but by collaboration, learning from other people, having open conversations with both clients and architects, that stuff is at least possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, what does craft is risk mean? And by the way, I want one of those T-shirts.
Yeah, well, I actually had Deanna, our creative director, make that up for me, or maybe Megan, maybe you made it up for me a couple of years ago when I was giving a talk. It was a talk called Maker v. Manager. Maker, the dichotomy between the role of the maker, the person who's actually out in the shop or in the field, and the manager, because many of us, including me, started as makers and now we're managers. And it's, and I crave that maker relationship, but realize the importance of high quality management at the same time, and realize that quality management, quality leadership is also a craft. And that all craft, if you push to the highest level, if you push forward hard, becomes risky.
Mhm.
So what I mean by that is, it's easy to do easy work. It's easy to fall back on cliches. It's easy to do what was done 30 years ago. It's easy to not spend 12 hours a day thinking about building science and wood technology and spreadsheets. But if you really want that greatness of a company or of a joint or of a trim detail, you got to push yourself to the edge. And that's risky. It's risky because you can make a mistake. It's risky because you can lose money. It's risky because you can get emotionally exhausted. But that's what that is. Craft is risk.
Yes.
Whether it's the craft of business, which is a newsletter that we started, or craft as you might otherwise consider it in the creation of a product or a home or whatever. Man, thanks for asking. This is my favorite t-shirt, and I'm going to auction it off at the next Timber Framers Guild, because I think we only made 3 of them. I don't know, Megan, if you remember. I think we made 3 of them. One of them I've already given away, so I have 2 of them. We'll make more. I guess we can make more, can't we?
Make more.
Organic cotton, made in the USA.
There you go. There you go. Most people think of us with our primary product, which is our timber frame. We've done exceptional buildings, exceptional homes as a result of our enclosure systems that help us build sustainable product. I'd like to touch a little bit on the divisions of the company, the things that we do besides our timber frame, and what impact that has on the planet.
I'm happy to talk about our divisions. I know it can be a little bit confusing. I know when I first started, it took me some time to catch on. But at our heart is timber framing, as we keep sort of coming back to. And closely following on the heels of that, we have a design group as well, which involves architecture and interiors. A build team. We do general contract a couple of projects near our headquarters in Farmington, New York, and out towards Portland, Oregon, where Jonathan is. We have a fine woodworking division, and they craft everything from cabinetry to stairs, doors. You dream it. These guys and gals are incredibly talented. As Drake's mentioning, high performance enclosures. So we may put your frame up, and then the build team will come in afterwards and enclose the frame. We've been crafting our matrix wall high performance system since I think 96 or so. Jonathan would know a little better. And we've evolved that throughout the decades and continue to do so. And we're doing an even greater push for that, as creating efficient structures that are going to be good for the planet, good for the people that are living in it. That's at our core. Then we also have a sister company, Pioneer Millworks, and they do a lot of flooring paneling with reclaimed and sustainable wood. They supply timbers for us. So a lot of various branches, all talented folks that are very passionate about what we do, what they do.
And in some ways, this particular seminar is about well-run businesses, not about us. But it is an interesting question regarding who we are. And all of those businesses occurred, all of those branches, all those 5 fingers, so to speak, if we think of timber framing, design, general contracting, fine woodworking, and Pioneer Millworks, they all kind of evolved as a need to meet a client's, as a result of meeting a client's needs, and can't happen without good, without good people and good management. And so there are a number, I think, of timber frame companies who look at different areas where they can help their company and help their clients. And this is the approach we've taken, and it's ended up with right now 120 some coworkers, maybe.
That's a community. A community.
Yeah. I used to say we should pretty soon be able to get to be a good volleyball team. Well, now we can get to be a whole big volleyball league.
Yeah.
And most of those are in New York, but I think we're now up to close to 30 over on the West Coast as well. So, it's a growing and strong operation. And again, because we can attract, I think, people who are committed and who see a future. And that's really one of the big things that we hope to do, as well as the Timber Framers Guild hopes to do, which is to create a safe landing zone for people who want to make things. It's hard to make a living making things these days. We're up against China and Vietnam and other low-cost countries, and so the maker mentality, that creator mentality, that handcraft mentality, as we all know, is sort of, I wouldn't say disappearing, but it's harder now. So, by creating this environment where people can make a living as a maker, that I think is the Timber Framers Guild, as well as our own company's goal. Mm-hmm. Am I off topic? Did that answer your question?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
Cool.
A question has come up about our design group. We provide our own architecture, but we obviously don't design every building that we have ever built or every frame. So we're working often with outside sources, architects and designers. Explain how that relationship goes and how we develop a product when we're not the primary author of that design.
Yeah, you bet. 80% of our work is actually not designed in-house, and it's kind of a fascinating number. So we do, 50 or so timber frames a year between both coasts, and so that makes 35 of those or 40 of those designed by other architects or by owners. Oftentimes, people will come to us with plans, and we're all about that. The professional architectural world is full of talent, and why should we think we have it all in-house? Recently we did, and if you don't mind me name dropping for just a second, we did Giselle's place in Boston. Not to Giselle, she's married to that guy who throws the football, but it was Giselle's place there in Boston. And the only reason we did that was because we had a relationship with that architect. We would never know. She would never know who we are. We're not in that group, I can assure you. So what it does is it brings us interesting projects from all over the country and teaches us a lot about design. And so some people want, a one-stop shop, and we do think we, are good designers and caring and offer a lot for that value. But, other people want an independent view. And so we kind of cover all bases. It's a great business model, to be honest with you. So yeah, we work with independent architects all over the place. And another question that I see that just came up is, do we work outside of our area of the New York and Portland area? I don't really know, but I think we've built in 42 states and 4 countries. So, yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's design work. That is timber framing and enclosures with our crews who cut your frame, the same crew that goes out and raises the frame. It takes a lot of communication. It takes a lot of coordination between our 2 offices sometimes, helping each other with projects and trucking and that sort of thing. It's another example of our community. Jonathan mentioned the 5 divisions, and I have to say, it's a remarkable relationship of all of those people, 120 some employees and co-workers, who are all pulling on the same oar to get a great project done and to do it for our clients and our customers. And we all take pride in that end product, and it's a great example of people working together. It makes me proud to be part of this company.
Yeah, thanks, Drake. But this is not a sales call.
Well, you're right about that. You're right
I
about
was going to say, though, not just within our company, but like Jonathan was talking about with outside folks. I mean, we could theoretically be competitors and not really get along very well. And yet we continue to collaborate and make these relationships. And I think bring a sense, I think we really do, of community, even amongst other professionals outside of our folks. And
It certainly helps us get the job done sometimes when, for instance, we've got just not long ago, we did a raising in South Carolina, and half the people in the raising were not our own staff, but other timber framers who are just helpful. And we do a lot of structural insulated panels, for instance, and we work with a couple of different, collaborative structural insulated panel companies that, or installers. And I think it just makes for a better organization to have that flexibility and learn from each other, and sometimes save some money in that way as well.
that's exactly the learn from each other part, continuing the education between other folks we're working with, as well as internally what we can all learn from each other. That's a big part of the timber framer skill too, is educating members as well as generally anyone who has some interest, helping just push forward what we know and all doing better because of that.
This next question that just came up, which is how do we find builders and people who are remote when it's a remote project? It's a good mechanical question. It's not about how we run our company, but I understand that it's of value to share some of this stuff with the folks who are on this seminar webinar, I guess it is. And so the answer is sometimes it can be a Dickens to find and work with people at a remote area, but not as often as you would think. There are good builders all over the country. After 30 years of doing this, we know how to ask the right questions, and also people come to us knowing good builders. And then finally, the real answer is, I'm shocked at how many people are still their own contractor, and we're able to talk them through some of the more difficult aspects of it because we're a contractor ourselves and we've been doing this for so long. So, I think that it is, there's a variety of ways to meet people's needs outside of our immediate area. I mean, just think of this webinar, for instance. I'm in Portland, Megan's in the Finger Lakes region of New York. Drake is in the hipster town of Ann Arbor, Michigan. We're all over the place, and it's almost becoming normal.
I have a question. Business climates can be challenging. We've all been through recessions before. Jonathan, you started your facility in Portland just right around 2008.
It shows you what a dumb businessman I am.
Yeah, that was probably a challenge. We're involved in a world atmosphere right now that is very challenging. We have a virus that's gone around the world and taken lives. We have a situation, Black Lives Matter. How does that impact your business, and what are your thoughts about the future? Heavy question.
Thanks for asking it. It's kind of the elephant in the room of every business right now. I'm going to break it in two because you really are two different issues. Mm-hmm. The pandemic has been challenging. We stopped business for a while on our shop in both coasts. We're now back full on both coasts and overtime in both coasts. So both shops are operating. Shops like ours around the country are back operating. The smarter of those shops and the more thoughtful of those shops are doing a very good job of a series of protocols set by the Center of Disease Control and the World Health Organization that say, stay the 6 feet apart, wash your hands a lot, don't share equipment. We're doing an extraordinary number of protocols every day to keep our distance, but to keep our people safe. There's so much asymptomatic people out there. We don't know who may or may not be carrying the coronavirus right now. So we're just super careful all the time. You know, anybody who knows somebody who has actually gone through that virus in a hard way should be afraid. You know, it's not an easy process. It does kill people, but the people who survive are sometimes affected for life. And the people who survive who aren't affected for life nonetheless often remember it as some of the worst weeks of their life. So we're just trying hard to keep that to a minimum. Our travel is much less than it was, although we are traveling. We're traveling carefully. For those of us who are able in both coasts, we're working from home. I mean, I'm blessed with being able to work from the Vermont Street project. Galleries. You know, it was named Fine Home Building House of the Year in 2011. Small, modest home, which we're going to do a tour of on one of these webinars sometime coming up, and a tour of the thinking, and we're going to call it Vermont Street Project 10 years later. But I'm off topic, except that I'm not. If you've got a place that you love at home, whatever it is, if you've got that place that you can be, then it's easier to work from home. And I'm blessed with that capacity. Not everybody is. If you've shared apartment in downtown Brooklyn, it's harder. No question about it. My heart bleeds for a lot of those folks. But, you know, for most of us in New Energy Works, we're actually pretty lucky. Western New York is now opening up quite a bit. I think that we still should be wearing masks, et cetera, when we're in public areas. But, you know, it's opened up quite a bit. The number of coronavirus cases is going down in New York. In Portland, it's actually starting to increase again. So specifically, Portland has a place. We now are allowed to open up some of what was closed before, but we have to wear masks if we're in an interior of a public space. I'm okay with that. It's harder to run a business this way, but I'm okay with doing what should be done thoughtfully for our customers, for our coworkers. It just makes sense.
We have a lot of people to take care of.
We do have a lot of people to take care of, more than just the 130 of us.
Yeah.
The other one is trickier. Black Lives Matter. You know, I tend to both coasts, you know, tend to not really hit that. We don't. You know, we're not in an inner city setting. We're not. You know, we don't. I don't know what to do, to be honest with you about that. My heart bleeds for, you know, a population that has clearly gotten the raw end of the stick. So we're talking right now as a company about, are there things we can do? And I think one of the things we can do is reach out and try to offer a couple of internships to folks who might not otherwise have that opportunity. You know, Farmington, for instance, is a suburb of Rochester. Rochester has a very bad inner city poverty situation going on. Has for as long as I used to live there. And so maybe that's something small we can do. In the meantime, I think we can not be afraid to have this conversation, Drake, and not be afraid to admit our vulnerability and admit our culpability if that applies. And I know that not everybody on this call agrees with me. I am totally clear on that, and I'm okay with that. And let's chat.
I think another nuts and bolts thing we've been talking about internally is like, how closely are we paying attention to who our vendors are, our subcontractors? Like, are we doing what we can to support minority-owned businesses, for example? And Jonathan, I feel like you talk about, I'm probably going to get this not quite right, but you know, a company using its buying power as influence towards the better, whether that is buying shirts that are organic cotton and made in the USA, or, you know, making the effort to support these companies that need our support, or community organizations. Like, as companies, we have the ability to make those choices. We just need to think about them more, perhaps. And this has sort of brought a chunk of that really into the forefront. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, business, in my opinion, is the most powerful economic opportunity for change there is. Better than government, and we see a government right now, and has been for a long time, that people aren't talking to each other. They're not doing what they ought to do as leaders, and it's pretty polarized. Business has this opportunity if we don't just think about the profit to the owner, or the bonus to the leadership, or whatever it is. We have to think about that. We have to vote with our dollar, which is what I think you were referring to before. I mean, I'm pretty vocal, for instance, about gosh, should we be buying so much from Amazon when Main Street, that brick and mortar store with a mom and pop in it, really probably needs your business a little bit more than Jeff, whatever his name is, who will soon become the first trillionaire in the world. I think it is, I think it's okay to vote with your dollar and support the Main Street. And if possible, it's not always easy, support a minority business if you can.
Mm-hmm.
But none of that's easy. I don't have any answers.
Mm-hmm.
Drake. I feel very dumb and vulnerable now that you've asked me that.
I think you answered it well, and I think we have the right company philosophy about all of that.
I hope more companies have that, and I do know of many companies that really do have that, but the resources are limited. If you're a small company, a lot of times you're just trying to get through the day, which is why quality management and a quality team of people in your company is so critical. To allow a little bit of elbow room to always try to do the right thing.
A question has come up about our high performance enclosures. I'm not sure we touched on that well enough, and how it affects sustainability. I know that we've been concentrating on that for, golly, 15, almost 20 years now, and have plans for some new innovative product here coming out. So that's a responsibility that we take as a community and as stewards of the planet. I think sustainability is an important feature we should talk about.
It also saves our clients money and makes for a more comfortable home, a quieter home. I vote with your dollar, but don't vote stupid, right? So there's just nothing wrong with a super well built house that doesn't have vapor drive creating rot inside the envelope at some point. It's sustainability and logical conservative economic policy go well together, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And we've been building those homes for a number of years. We're proud that that's part of our history.
Annoyingly long. I'm stuck in a rut.
Well, you've guided us all well in the right.
One of the questions that's really intriguing here to me that I see is, gosh, our homes look really monstrously big. And I don't think that's the way it was written, but how does that fit with our sustainability issue? I think it's a really valid question. Honestly, we tell clients all the time, we're going to try to inspire you to possibly build a little smaller so that you can build a little better. But it's really, in the end, it's not our place. It is your home. So therefore, if you're going to build a big home, and bless you and for being able to afford that, I have no problem with that. We're going to still work hard to make it the most sustainable, the most energy efficient, the most resource efficient home that we can make. We're just going to do that.
And gorgeous as well.
Yeah. Coincidentally, high crap.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to build large, but if what you come to us is say, not only do I not care about the earth, but I also want you to make sure you don't care about the earth when you're designing and building our house, well, we're probably not your build. We're probably not your company. Honestly, thank you very much. We're probably just not your company. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, though, across all political spectrums, and I meet everybody from every political spectrum, there is such an increased knowledge and caring about environmental issues, comfort issues, operational issues. I don't think it's a political issue anymore. Mm-hmm. I think really it becomes just a logic issue. And yes, we love to build big homes, as small homes. You know, last year we built a 7,000 square foot home and an 1,100 square foot home.
Mhm.
They were both wonderful projects. Both clients are super people.
Mhm.
I think we're out of time, huh?
I think we're pretty much out of time. Do either of you want to have a sort of a closing statement or a point you want to make yet? Megan? Any additional points or comments that you'd like to make? How long have you been with New Energy Works?
I've been here 12 years. Actually, I think Tuesday was my 12-year anniversary. So
Oh, dang, I missed it again.
Happy
Shame.
anniversary.
Happy
Never a dull moment, as I suspect.
And I've been here since before dirt was invented.
Yeah.
Jonathan's our longest running employee.
Yeah, longest running coworker. No, I appreciate everybody coming. Appreciate the thought processes involved in what is a good company. You know, whoever you choose, you know, make it a company that cares. That's all my. It can be a small company, it can be a big company, it can be a timber frame company that cuts everything with, you know, plug-in hand tools as opposed to larger CNC equipment. You know, those are all sort of side questions compared to choosing a good company, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I encourage people to come and visit our two shops, come and see who we are. It's not just about the lumber. It's about our heart and soul and how we work together. We're touching on community again, and that's really, really important.
Mhm.
I want to thank you both for taking some time out of your day to share this venue with me. It's been thrilling. It's been fun. We've got a few more of these opportunities coming up in the near future. The marketing department's going to talk about those and keep you informed. And thank you again for visiting today. And please be safe. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Drake. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.